I want my candidacy for the presidency of the United States to stand for a moment when we, the people, stand once again for the independence from a government that has gotten too big and spends too much and has taken away too much of our liberties.
To liberals, Michele Bachmann is a right-wing extremist who plays loose with the facts. To Tea Party activists, she is a hero willing to stand up not just to the Obama agenda, but to her own party's leadership as well. Like her or not, there is no disputing this. At the moment, she is the candidate making the greatest impact on the race for the Republican nomination. The new Iowa poll shows her near the top of the pack, running even with the former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney and well ahead of a half dozen other GOP contenders. No wonder that even though she represents Minnesota in Congress, Bachmann chose her birthplace, Waterloo, Iowa, to make it official.
I often say that everything I need to know, I learned in Iowa. I learned those lessons at Hawthorne Elementary, at Valley Park Elementary, and at my home, which are a very short distance from where we're standing today, because this is where my Iowa roots were firmly planted. And it's these Iowa roots and my faith in God that guide me today.
Iowa roots. Got it? Let's be honest. It's hard to see Bachmann winning the Republican nomination, but it's easy to see her having a dramatic impact on the race, especially if she can maintain that level of support in Iowa. Let's discuss the Bachmann factor with our chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, our national political correspondent, Jessica Yellen, and from Nashville, Tennessee tonight, Chip Saltzman, who helped the former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee to a surprising Iowa victory back in the 2008 GOP presidential race. And Chip, let's start with that. When you see Michele Bachmann get in the race, we all know what happened in 2008, and a lot of people are looking at this race saying if she can hold Iowa, what happens to Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty? What happens to the candidacy of the former Speaker Newt Gingrich? What happens to lesser-known candidates like Senator Santorum? Is she right now driving this race in some ways?
Certainly in Iowa she is, and you know she's got to worry about what's next for her. I mean, she can be the front runner in Iowa for 6 months, and then if that's all she does, it won't get very far. But she's probably going to move on to South Carolina and play like an Iowa-South Carolina two-step, which is what Governor Huckabee tried to do 4 years ago. But the special thing about Iowa is anybody can compete there. The Iowa straw poll's coming up in August. I mean, you're talking about 10, 15,000 people. She's now clearly expected to win that by a big margin. And so who's going to catch on next, and who's going to get that next big oxygen burst out of Iowa? There's a lot of play here. It's a long time to the caucuses. It's still hot in Iowa, and as you know, the caucuses are very cold over there.
We got about 7 months to get to the caucuses, and you're right. We'll see a lot of snow before we get to the caucuses, but she is leading the pack right now. And Jess and Gloria, I want you to listen to her here, because a lot of people say she's a Tea Party favorite. A lot of people say she's a social conservative. She's anti-abortion. She's anti-gay rights. Listen here to Michele Bachmann say in her speech, clearly making an effort to say, I'm a broad-based Republican.
It's made up of Americans from all walks of life like a three-legged stool. It's made up of peace through strength conservatives, and I am one of those. It is made up of fiscal conservatives, and I am one of those. It is made up of social conservatives, and I am one of those. And it's made up of the Tea Party movement, and I am one of those.
If she can expand her base beyond just the Tea Party or beyond just social conservatives, if you add those two up, that's not bad. But if she can expand, she's a factor.
She's a factor, and she's playing to the Republican base, I mean, more broadly than just the Tea Party. And she's doing it effectively because she's communicating a message. I mean, it's clear that she believes in something, and that's why she's popping in this Republican field, where you get the sense that the mainstream candidates, the ones who are raising a lot of money, are very media savvy, or they're being run by some very media savvy operatives. But who are they? What is their character like? And you really get a sense of who this person is and what she stands for.
Yeah, I think of her sort of as the Howard Dean of this year in a way, just the way in 2004 Howard Dean kind of shook up the Democrats. Right. He shook up John Kerry, gave him a run for his money. Then he didn't win Iowa, and there was a, then there was a problem. but he did represent the liberal wing of the Democratic Party in the same way that she represents the Tea Party. But I'll tell you one thing, Rick Perry, if he gets in, that's a game changer, and that could take away a whole bunch of her strength right now. So she's got a little bit of steam. She's going to take advantage of it till he gets in the race.
And Chip, if you're in Camp Palin, and most of us think she's not going to run, but we don't have a final decision yet. She's actually going to be in Iowa tomorrow for the Iowa premiere of a movie about her tenure as the governor up in Alaska. Does Bachmann's rise, does it accelerate your schedule at all, or do you not have to worry about that if you're Sarah Palin?
I don't think Sarah Palin worries about anybody else's schedule except her own. So I don't think it bothers her one bit. I think she's going to do what she's going to do. And I assume she's not running for president, but if she gets in, that's another game changer. That would change the whole dynamic of the race from Iowa through New Hampshire, South Carolina, and everything.
Now, the knock on Michele Bachmann has been that sometimes what she says simply isn't true. Sometimes what she says in the past isn't even close to true. I asked her about this. She was on the program in May, and I asked her about Chris Wallace actually had to apologize today for suggesting yesterday on Fox News Sunday that she was a flake. He took that back. But his point was, she said on that program some time ago, early in the Libya invasion, that there were 30,000 people killed. She said she was quoting some report. That number was nowhere near true. Remember back when the president traveled to India several months ago, she was throwing around some exorbitant figure about what the trip would cost. It was posted on a blog somewhere. She used it several times, even though people challenged her factually on that. So I asked her that question. Does she now, running as a presidential candidate, have to meet a higher test? Listen.
It isn't my job to go and fact-check sources that come out in publications, and so I was using that quote. But you're right.
It's your job as a candidate. The left likes to use you as a galvanizer.
You have a very good point, though, that I think when you're in the presidential realm, I do think that message discipline is required. And I think that that is something that, you know, all of us have areas that we need to do better on, and that's certainly one that I'll pay a lot of attention to.
You see, Jess, she has a lot of pros around her now. She hired some people away from Congressman Mike Pence. She has Ed Rollins, our former contributor, running her campaign. Ed Goes, a very serious Republican pollster, some other people around her. She seems to have gotten the message that I need to grow, I need to get better and stronger. If I keep making mistakes, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, and she has been much more disciplined. She stuck to the message. She did make a little mess up today when she was in Iowa. She said it's good to be back in the home of John Wayne, and it was actually the home of John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer, not John Wayne, the action movie star, although his parents were allegedly born there, so they covered that up. A little awkward, but look, if you go to politifact.com, which is won a Pulitzer Prize, I mean, they are the standard, you know, for judging these things. She has this long list of falsehoods she's made, and she has to watch that. This matters when you're on the big stage.
She does, but it was interesting. In the debate you did, the CNN debate, the thing that struck me about her was that this was a candidate who had been briefed, and I was told in the briefing she took meticulous notes, paid attention, had some messages she needed to get out, got them out, and did very well as a result in the debate. So you can see how good she can be when she's on message. The problem is when she's out there on her own, and when you're an inexperienced candidate running for president, it's kind of hard to learn on the job. Just ask anyone.
It goes on for a long time, a lot of house parties, a lot of everything else, and it tests you. Appreciate it.
Barack Obama learned that too, didn't he?
He sure did, didn't he? But, you know, if he made a lot of stumbles early on, he happens to be president of the United States right now. There's a lesson in that, too. Gloria, Jess, Chip Saltzman, thanks for coming in tonight.